All right, this is Jeff and Chase with eXp Realty, and today we are talking about when throughout the transaction does the buyer actually have to come out of pocket, right? There are a number of different times throughout the transaction where there are some hidden costs that people might not think about, right? And these are times where you will have to come out of pocket as a buyer. The first is the earnest money deposit. Now, this is right after you get an accepted contract. Within the first 2 days, you have to submit what's called an earnest money deposit. This is good faith money, basically showing that you are interested in purchasing this home, and that in turn rolls into your down payment amount later on before close. But what that earnest money typically is around 1% of the purchase price. So if you are purchasing a home at $500,000, that earnest money deposit is around $5,000. And that is either a cashier's check or a wire that can go toward and held that title. And that's the first time that a buyer comes out of pocket. The next is during the due diligence period for all of the inspections. Typically, at a very bare minimum, the buyer is doing a general inspection and a termite inspection. The general inspection is where the inspector comes out and takes a look at everything in the home. And that can run anywhere between $500 and $600, right, for that general inspection. And then also the termite inspection, which is roughly $60 to $75, right? So those are typically the bare minimum of the inspections that you're going to want to do on a home. Now, there are other inspections that we can do also if the buyer so chooses. One is a roofing inspection. That could be $100 to $150 to have a qualified roofer come out and take a look at the roof and make sure that there are no leaks and that the roof is adequate. Another one is an AC inspection. To have an AC person come out, a specialist, to test the AC unit and make sure that that is working properly. That can be between $75 and $125 for the AC inspection. And then another one is a sewer scope inspection, another very important one, especially on older homes. That can run between $150 to $200 for a sewer scope inspection. So those are the first few times in the process to where a buyer is coming out of pocket on.
Outstanding. And another thing you need to know as a buyer, especially if you're financing a home, is you don't want to go out and make some out of the ordinary expense, like buying a boat or buying a car. If you do these things, you need to talk to your lender before you pull the trigger on any major purchases, because that could impact your debt to income ratios along the way. A couple more things you need to do to put money, to expend money out of your pocket. One would be the appraisal. The appraisal, and they used to be a lot less. Now, just like everything else, they're a little bit more expensive. For about a $500,000 house, you're looking at about $700, $800 for an appraisal, and that typically comes out of your pocket during the escrow process as well. Finally, we get to the closing table. And as a buyer, we prefer to recommend that they use a wire transfer. If they don't want to do that, they can come in with a cashier's check. But typically, the buyer would pay that money a few days prior to closing the house. So the title company has the money in hand, and that is a down payment, whatever down payment is expected from you at the closing table, and also any closing costs that are associated with that loan. So you can see there's quite a few times during the process where you're coming out of pocket, and we can give you the exact numbers of what that looks like. We want you to come into this process eyes wide open. It's worth it in the end, but over the course of an escrow, yeah, it could be a little stressful. Our job is to help remove as much stress as we possibly can and let you know when those times happen where you have to spend money. So hopefully that helps you a little bit with money out of your pocket during escrow. This is Jeff and Chase with eXp Realty. Have a great day.